I'm joined here by Henry Wang, president of advisory firm Gate International, an author and speaker who's written books on energy, climate change and business in China. Thank you for joining us, Henry.
Thank you, Roland.
First, can I ask you, how do you see the US-China trade war playing out in the long term?
I think it is going to be, in the short term, I think there's going to be a lot of ripples in the pool, so to speak. At this moment, there is the resumption of the negotiations this week and maybe next. And also looking ahead, there is the publication, more names of Chinese companies on the entity list, the US entity list, which probably will draw a strong reaction. And equally, there may be the publication of the undesirable company list, US company list from China, which will also stimulate the stronger reaction. But looking to the longer term, I hope that the leadership in both countries will realize this trade war is not only hurting international trade, but it's having big impact on other areas, for example, climate change and other areas, so that hopefully looking ahead, they can come to some compromises and negotiated settlements which will benefit both countries.
Thank you. And you mentioned climate change. Looking at that issue and the energy transition, how do you think this might manifest itself on the geopolitical stage?
Yeah, actually, this is a very interesting question, which I've just written my new book on climate change and clean energy management, which will be published by Routledge globally in November. And in my research in this area, it's been very interesting for me to find that actually the trade war, although affecting a lot of sensitive areas like high-tech chips, which we've been focusing on, is actually having a big effect on clean energy and climate change. One good example I could give, for example, is that there has been a lot of technological cooperation. People have been focusing on chips and things like that, but actually there's been a lot of technological cooperation in renewables, solar, wind, geothermal, biofuels and other areas between US companies and Chinese companies, which are now having some uncertainty. Another area was that China wanted to commit to its Paris Agreement commitment, and as part of that, they were going to consider blending of biofuel into their gasoline pool. And the gasoline pool of China has grown to be one of the biggest in the world. And they were actively considering buying US ethanol biofuel from the US. But of course, with the trade war, this is now causing some uncertainty in that area as well.
And speaking of uncertainties, do you think there are any potential flashpoints that the energy world is underappreciating?
I think a very important flashpoint is really the South China Sea. Last month when the Management Association of Philippines invited me to talk to their CEO conference. This was one of the top concerns of the 600 CEOs and C-suite executives in this area. The South China Sea, to put it into perspective, is handling about 1/3 of the world's shipping and 3 trillion of trade. And then, of course, at the same time, it has reported to have a tremendous amount of oil and gas reserve under the seabed. And therefore, this is a very important area. And when I was invited to speak about it at Cambridge University, together with other international security experts from different countries, we all agree that this is a tremendous flashpoint that could occur if it's not properly managed.
Well, one to watch. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Henry.
Thank you very much for having me.